Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this Build Back Fossil Free rally today. Yeah, there was a little bit of a tech hiccup for some folks, so my apologies for that, but I think we have got it all sorted out now. Yeah, thanks for bearing with us with that. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Bill McClellan, for making us that great slideshow to get things started. Be sure to send that out after the meeting or after the rally for everyone that wasn't able to see it. But yeah, thanks for being here. As for our Build Back Fossil Free week of action rally, this is just one of hundreds of actions around the country calling on President Biden to do everything in his power to fight continued fossil fuel pollution and prioritize our communities, and especially communities that have historically faced the pollution burden in our country. So we've got a really exciting lineup of speakers today from around New Jersey who are working on a number of issues, fighting fossil fuel infrastructure and fighting for a clean energy future. Also, thank you to our nearly 30 co-sponsoring organizations of this event and all the work that you do every day for a better future for everyone in New Jersey. So if you haven't already had a chance to introduce yourself in the chat, please do so. It would be really great to hear who you are and where you're from. If you're with an organization, that would be great to hear about. Yeah, so just to get things started, we're going to start with Logan Miller, who's the high school director of the Progressive Democrats of New Jersey and co-leader of the Environmental Club of the Hudson School, and was instrumental in the campaign to stop the New Jersey Transit power plant that would have polluted his community in Jersey City, as well as others in Hudson, Bergen, and Essex counties. So thanks, Logan. I'm gonna unmute you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming today. My name is Logan, and I am a 16-year-old high school student and a lifelong Jersey City resident. Like I said, I'm only 16 years old, and what that means is that our actions right now are going to affect the rest of my life. The inaction of the present day is going to be the tragedy of my future. And I mean, there are people who are afraid of having children out of a concern for what their future or lack thereof may be. Just this past week, a Chevron oil refinery dumped 600 gallons of oil into the San Francisco Bay. And so, as we all know, we have to act now. My generation's lives are at stake. And we all have a part to play in this. And one of the most important actions we can take right now is ending oil rail transport in New Jersey. We know that these trains have exploded before, and there will be more tragedies if we don't stop them now. On top of this, if oil stops being transported, of course, it won't be used. So it's time for Governor Murphy to ban this practice, which is detrimental to our environment and to our people. Not only him, but also President Biden needs to ban these unsafe oil trains. Why did Senator Manchin write a letter about the many benefits of responsible domestic natural gas production? There's no such thing as responsible domestic natural gas production. We need to build back fossil free. We need a moratorium on fossil fuels, fracking, and LNG in New Jersey and across the country. It's time for Governor Murphy to stop talking and start doing. I know that I've said this before, but I just want to end with this because it can't be said enough. At the end of the day, we need to start taking drastic action. Well, of course, there are more immediate issues right now when it comes to things like COVID-19. There will always be more immediate issues until one day climate change is going to be the most immediate issue. And if we don't take action before then, it will be too late.
Thank you, Logan. It's really great to hear from you to get things started. Now we're gonna hear from fossil fuel fights around the state and even a special report from Lac-Mégantic, Quebec. To start, we're gonna hear from Paul Vergoven from the Coalition to Ban Unsafe Oil Trains, who's calling in from right above the oil train tracks in Teaneck. Paula, are you there?
We're here in Teaneck above the CSX River line trains. I'm here with Lori Ludmer and Leela Charney, and we are here because we want you to see these trains are right here next to our houses, our schools, our parks. Right a few yards from here is our ambulance corps. This is a very, very, very dangerous situation. The CSX trains here in Teaneck can carry volatile back-in crude oil and other hazardous materials through our communities. They put us in great danger. As you probably know, a train carrying back-in crude oil derailed and tragically killed 47 people in La Mégantic, Quebec. After I speak to you, you'll hear from a resident and activist in La Mégantic. These trains run through 11 towns here in Bergen County. They cross the Oradell Reservoir, which provides drinking water for over 800,000 people here in Bergen and Hudson County. They go through Jersey City and Newark and other towns and cities and rural areas here in Jersey. Before Trump, rail regulations were weak, but many regulations were dropped by the Trump administration. Rail companies inspect their own tracks and tank cars, which we know are often substandard. This makes no sense. It's time for the government at the city, state, and federal level to protect our lives, not the profits of oil and rail industries. It's urgent that we have an oil train safety bill here in Jersey, something like the one introduced by Senator Weinberg, a bill, though, that failed to pass in the state legislature. We need the state legislature to finally pass an oil train safety bill. We also need to work with the Biden administration, which deals with interstate transport, to restore and improve rail safety regulations. We're here above the tracks because we want people to know that we are scared. We're scared of back-in crude oil, which can explode like a bomb. We're scared of the other hazardous materials, but we're even more scared of the possibility of having liquefied natural gas coming through our communities. Tracy Carluccio will speak in a few moments about, she's from the Delaware Riverkeeper Network. She'll tell you more about liquefied natural gas. Governor Murphy voted in the Delaware River Basin Committee to approve Dock 2 at Gibstown facility, but he said he did not approve of liquefied natural gas. He has done nothing about that. So we are here today above the tracks in Teaneck, New Jersey, and we're calling on you, on Governor Murphy, to join us in calling on Governor Murphy and President Biden to prohibit the production, transport, and export of LNG in New Jersey and in the entire United States. We hope you'll continue to work in your communities and be part of the Don't Gas the Meadowlands Coalition and Empower New Jersey Coalition. I'd like to introduce Gilbert Carret, who will be calling in from La Mégantic. He's with the La Mégantic Citizen Coalition for Rail Safety. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Paula. Just trying to find Gilbert. All right, Paula, I'm not seeing Gilbert in the Zoom right now. He might be having some issues getting on. Can we go on to our next speaker and come back to him?
Sure. So our next speaker is Tracy Carluccio from the Delaware Riverkeeper Network. She's the deputy director, and she is the person who has taught many of us so much about liquefied natural gas. So here's Tracy.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Paula. Thanks, and thanks to everybody for joining today. Greatly appreciate it, and glad that you're going to be able to learn a little bit more about the proposal for the Gibbstown LNG export terminal. Can everyone see the slides? You can? Okay, good. So on the right-hand side of this map, on this map here, is the map of New Jersey, and that thin blue line is the Delaware River that unites New Jersey with Pennsylvania. And just south of there is the city of Chester in Pennsylvania. Just north is the city of Philadelphia, and Camden is on the New Jersey side. And also, as you move south, you see the Delaware River and Bay, and then the export route that they would be using. Here's a little closer look of the terminal site. Paulsboro is about 3 miles upstream from there, and Chester, PA, that I mentioned, is about 2.5 miles downstream. Both are environmental justice communities that are already disproportionately exposed to extremely damaging environmental and public health hazards. And the terminal itself joins the backyards of the people of Gibbstown. And it would require dredging and numerous environmental impacts that would be indelible on this part of the Delaware River. And if we look a little closer at what this path of destruction is, you have to look at the supply chain. And it's important to understand the breadth of the proposal and its enormous and complicated path. This would be the first large-scale export project that would move this much liquefied natural gas over land so many miles, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It would begin at fracked wells in the Marcellus shale fields, up at New Fortress Energy's liquefaction plant that they want to build in Wyalusing and Bradford County in Pennsylvania. It would go through 200 miles of Pennsylvania and New Jersey communities, either on trucks or on rail. And it would then wind down to the Gibbstown LNG export terminal on the Delaware River. And here is just a quick picture of the various components of that supply chain and path of destruction. It would induce more fracking, which won so much of Pennsylvania already, by creating a new market for the gas that has nowhere else to go. It would require a liquefaction plant to be built with polluting emissions, public safety hazards, and basically a scorched earth policy in the little community of Wyalusing on the beautiful Susquehanna River. It would also carry through these communities that I mentioned on trucks and or on rail, 300 to 400 trucks a day, up to 2 100-car trains per day, exposing over 1 million people to the threat of an accident. And we're going to talk a little bit about how dangerous that is. And here you can see is a blow up of the map that Delaware Riverkeeper has on its website. And it illustrates, this screenshot illustrates the interactive map that shows the greatest density of population along the transportation route is comprised of Black and brown communities and low-income communities. Those little dots you see are all schools and daycare centers. And as you see that go through Philadelphia, go through Camden, exposing all of those communities, it comes down to the exclamation point where the Gibbstown LNG export terminal would be built if they would be successful. Now, briefly, we don't have a lot of time, but I'd like to cover the hazards of LNG somewhat. So LNG can't be released can't be controlled once it's released from a container. It can travel and race ahead as much as 10 miles on water. And if it gets down into a ditch, it can also travel for long distances. And there's no way to stop it. What they do is they stand back and they just let it go. If it catches fire, they let it burn. It expands over 600 times in volume when it leaves the container, and that contains a tremendous amount of force and power as a result of that. They say 22 rail cars equal the force of a Hiroshima bomb. That's how powerful it is. It's super cooled down when it's in that container to minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit, which means that if it escapes, it's a very cold vapor cloud, and it kills instantly anybody within proximity. And if it were to catch fire, It burns so hot, it cannot be extinguished. As a matter of fact, anyone up to 2 miles can be fatally burned, and those who are closest, within a few thousand feet, are immediately killed. The explosion, as I said, has this tremendous force, and it doesn't even need to have an ignition source, which, by the way, the ignition source could be just the turning on of a car with a key, but it doesn't even need an ignition source. It can explode on its own because of the nature of the cloud. There's no emergency response. We have really a situation where those who live along these tracks and these truck routes are really sacrifice zones. Everyone's being used as guinea pigs because they have never moved liquefied natural gas in a rail car before, ever in the United States. It was banned until Trump changed it, and we have to change it back. So this is why they call them bomb trains and bomb cars. This is the kind of explosion that just 1 or 2 trucks can cause. And this is what they call the floating bombs. And this one ship has the force of 69 Hiroshima bombs. Now, we certainly would hope that that would never all catch and open up. But the problem is that we know it does have the power to do that. And this is one of the reasons that the state of Delaware has actually banned liquefied natural gas terminals in their coastal zone. They consider these gigantic ships with their flammable and potentially explosive cargo simply too dangerous to risk next to Wilmington and their bayshore and oceanfront communities. These ships would then travel overseas, and they want New Fortress Energy, who's building through Delaware River Partners, the Gibbstown facility, wants to build import terminals that they're forcing on Ireland and Puerto Rico and other places. And as a result of that forcing, people have become aware in these other communities that are supposed to be accepting this liquefied natural gas and fighting back. Puerto Rico is fighting back, Ireland is fighting back, and the sands are shifting. So just to close, we all know about climate, but I think probably one of the most important reasons that the world is changing and these places where New Fortress Energy is set on sending out its liquefied natural gas is because everyone is learning that natural gas is primarily methane. It's the most powerful of greenhouse gases in terms of heating the atmosphere on a 20-year time frame. And that is the period of time when scientists insist we have to be dramatically reducing those emissions in order to address the global climate crisis. So the world is changing. Fossil fuels are dinosaurs of the past, and we are not going to let New Jersey enable and become the conduit for dirty frack gas. So join with us and fight this. Keep in touch with Empower New Jersey and with Paula at the oil trains and all of the other places where we're going to be listening to today who are fighting these fossil fuel projects to say no to Governor Murphy and say to President Biden and his new administration, you say you want to decarbonize, stop it in New Jersey, start here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, next we're going to hear from Kate Delaney, who is from Collingwood, New Jersey, and is active with the Progressive Democrats of South Jersey and Say No to Fracked LNG. Should be able to unmute now.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kate.
Yes, my name is Kate Delaney. I'm the president of South Jersey Progressive Democrats, and Tracy is a hard act to follow, but I can connect directly to what she was saying at the end. So what I wanted to share is that tomorrow, members of South Jersey Progressive Democrats, grassroots opponents to the fracked gas terminal in Gibbstown, and Food and Water Watch will be sponsoring a rally that will be happening at Ground Zero, so in Gibbstown. It's right off of exit 17 and 295. So if you're in North Jersey and feel like spending a cold weekend driving down to South Jersey, we move the event up so that there will be no snow. It will be cold, but we will be out there. So we're meeting right off of 295, and we'll have little signs and visibly protesting the plan and asking Biden, asking Murphy, and asking local officials to invest in fossil-free alternatives and renewable energy rather than this dangerous plan. And then we'll be walking from there to the port, which will be taking photos actually by the daycare center, which is right by the terminal. So tying into Tracy's comments about the map and those dots, I live at one of those dots. So I live in Collingswood, which is right next door to Camden. So my home, my kids' school is along this route. So this is very, concerning to me personally, as well as concerning to me in terms of, everything that Tracy said about this is the wrong investment. We want to be building back fossil free. And as the president of South Jersey Progressive Dems, it's really important to highlight for me that this is a region that has been subject, as Tracy said, to so much environmental injustice. I'm in Camden County and we are part of that route. So we'll be, subject to whatever happens with the transported LNG. In Gloucester County, where Gibbstown is located, in 2012, there was a derailment of a train in Paulsboro and 23,000 gallons of vinyl chloride was dumped into a tributary of the Delaware River. Just earlier this year, Solvay Chemicals, they announced that they are accepted some responsibility for water poisoning in West Deptford. So these communities have been really hard hit. So we are certainly joining in efforts to ask the president, the governor to do better, to make the right investments. My local group and South Jersey Progressive Dems is also invested in asking our lower level officials as well. So to do the right thing, we are going to local council meetings and asking the council members at Gibbstown to take action and do the right thing and protect residents. So we invite everyone to join us. It is tomorrow at noon, and we will share the details in the chat. I think Jocelyn might have already done that. And again, it's exit 17 off of 295 Harmony Road, Gibbstown. We'll be meeting there with signs, and then we will be also walking down to the port, which Delaware River Partners told locals is now called something else, Rapano Port and Rail Terminal. So they're telling us, it has a new name now, but we know what the project is, and we're locals taking a stand and demanding fossil fuel free and demanding an end to this project. So thanks to everyone for their concern and their action.
You got me, Sam?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. And Gilbert, is on now. And we're going to hear from Gilbert from La Mégantic, Quebec.
Thank you, Sam, and all you people from New Jersey for their commitments to preserve the environment and for people's safety living along the rail lines in America. This is a message from Lake Mégantic Citizens Coalition for Railway Safety. We, the Citizen Coalition of Mégantic, are working since the 2013 tragedy we had by claiming near to the governments and railroad companies to improve the rail safety. It seems that the authorities and companies didn't learn about Lake Mégantic history of our tragedy. Only in Canada, since we had the experience of 7 major derailment of crude oil convoys. As you know, with the abandon of Keystone XL pipeline project, we will see more and more crude oil convoys rolling in our neighborhoods all over North America. Here in Mégantic, we have to do our own inspection to check the neglected rails condition going through our city. This is terrible. Our authorities failed to protect the population against massive oil and chemical spills destroying the environment. It's still unacceptable today because we have the opportunity to have clean, renewable energy. There's no change without effort. And now, our share from Mégantic to change things. In Mégantic now, with Hydro-Québec Company, we are installing thousands of solar panels on our new buildings in the reconstruction of our destroyed downtown. That's a 1,000 watts for every panel, each one of panels installed. Only on the Civic Center, there is 1,600 solar panels for a total of about 3,500 solar panels all around our downtowns in Mecantic. And in our area, we have a big windmills park producing renewable electricity of about 80 towers and still growing. Soon, in our backyard of our new, of our town, in our backyard, a new electric interconnection network will be erected between the province of Quebec and states of Maine and Massachusetts. New England Clean Energy Company is expected to supply North American states with clean, renewable energy from hydroelectric dams in northern Quebec. So, finishing my speech, this is the best way for us Canadians and probably for you Americans, with your new President Biden, we're happy about that, to reduce the massive transport of oil by train and pipeline in North America. It's really by significantly reducing our oil consumption that we will be able to secure the lives of our children and our planet. Good luck, everyone, and thank you for all you people fighting for preserving the environment. And if you need our collaboration, from Lake Mecantic, just let it know to Paula Rogoven, if you contact us, we'll be happy to contact us. And I hope soon that our borders will be open, after this pandemic, and we'll join together down New Jersey or somewhere in States, and we'll be working with you. Thank you all of you. Thank you. Thank you, Paula.
Hi, I want to, thank you. Thank you, Gilbert. I want to thank you so much for joining us at this rally. The fight for oil trains has no borders here. I'd like to introduce now Liz Ndoya, who is a member of the Don't Gas the Meadowlands Coalition and Hoboken Resist. Here goes Liz.
Yes. Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Liz Ndoy, and I am the founder and facilitator of the Hoboken chapter of MoveOn.org, Hoboken Resist. I'm also a proud member of Don't Gas the Meadowlands and the Democratic Committee of Hoboken. Merci to Gilbert, and thank you to the other speakers today, particularly Paula, who's out there in 20-degree weather fighting for all of us. I want to talk about the fight, the struggle that we've had in Hudson County against the proposed New Jersey Transit fracked gas power plant at Kearny, New Jersey. For all of 2020, we worked incredibly hard to stop the construction of this proposed fracked gas power plant. We lobbied and met with many local assembly folk and state senators. We wrote city council resolutions and spoke out at multiple council meetings. Many resolutions were passed. I'm proud to say that Hoboken City Council voted unanimously to stop this power plant. Speeches, many speeches were made at New Jersey Transit Board meetings, at county freeholder meetings, local meetings, and gatherings at people's homes. Rallies, marches, protests, and my first ever kayaction were held at locations in Newark at New Jersey Transit headquarters, Rutgers University, and right on the Hackensack River, right at the proposed site of this potentially highly polluting power plant. I'm proud to say today that our community grassroots action is paying off. Fighting New Jersey Transit at times felt like we were David fighting against Goliath, and that we were fighting against windmills. But it seems we have won almost, and they have begun to capitulate. They are making commitments to change their plans from frack gas to renewable alternatives. As Tracy said, the fossil fuel industry is the dinosaur. Renewable energy is becoming our future. And we just heard this week that the board of New Jersey Transit will amend the wording of their RFQ to reflect in writing this promise that they have made. We, of course, will keep a very close, watchful eye and hold the board's feet to the fire. For now, however, I'm gratified to state hardcore local volunteers. Our work is paying off. We can make New Jersey greener. We can stop new fossil fuel projects. We can get gas burning vehicles off the road by creating a public transportation system that is reliant on alternative energy. We can keep fracked gas, LNG, and oil trains out of New Jersey. It just takes our collective will. We need to tell Murphy, we need to tell Biden to put a moratorium on all new fossil fuel projects and to stop any oil, rail, or truck transport in our state. Let New Jersey lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz. It's an honor to be in movement with you and everyone on the Zoom here today. And I'm really excited to introduce our next speaker. By the way, I'm Matt with Food and Water Watch. And, you know, I think part of why I'm so excited about our next speaker, first of all, I had the privilege of working with this youth organizer as a recent Food and Water Watch intern and experienced firsthand the sort of dynamic leader that she is. But also because anytime we're talking about climate change, we have to center the disproportionate intergenerational impacts of climate change on future generations. But also because future generations have the audacity to dream into existence the world that we need to create in ways that many of us, in unique ways that those of us who have been here longer are sometimes challenged to do. And Ashley is someone who I think embodies the kind of dynamic leadership we need moving forward. She also is, resident of my hometown where I grew up in Wyckoff, New Jersey, and is doing so much great work, whether that's, in fighting fossil fuel projects and a whole range of other initiatives. So without any more, really excited to have Ashley talk a little bit about her work and some of the student organizing that's happening in New Jersey right now.
Thank you for that introduction, Matt, and hi everyone. I'm Ashley, and I've been a part of the effort to stop the North Bergen Meadowlands Power Plant and the NJ Transit Power Plant. As a young person, I think I speak for many teenagers when I say that the fear and the anxiety about a warming climate and its consequences on our future are real. but also I've witnessed and experienced the immense changes that can be made through community mobilization and organizations. And I want youth activism to be fueled by hope and sense of community rather than just fear, which is why I'm working toward growing the student movement in New Jersey to rally more young people in the fight against climate change. After co-writing an op-ed calling out Governor Murphy for the glaring hypocrisy in his environmental rhetoric versus his actual policies, I worked with a few students to write a student sign-on letter for clubs and organizations. The sign-on letter that will be sent to Governor Murphy in the spring outlines our concerns and our demands for action, and specifically emphasizes the urgent need for a moratorium on all fossil fuel projects. A moratorium would limit the amount of air pollution that is worsening our public health and sickening our community members. It would protect environmental justice in communities of low socioeconomic status that have been targeted with disproportionate amounts of pollution for generations. And it will propel New Jersey in the transition to a renewable energy future, the future that young people need to survive and thrive on this planet. Our generation is inheriting a crisis and with an emphasis on equity and green jobs. But until then, the student movement cannot stay silent. I will link the student organization sign-on letter as well as 2 individual student petitions that I wrote that will amplify our message. One of the petitions is about the moratorium and the other is in support of the Green Amendment movement, which would protect environmental rights to clean air, land, and water for all New Jersey citizens. And as Logan said earlier, our lives depend on this action. So please share it with any students that you know and feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Very inspiring update, and keep up all the great work that you're doing. And our next speaker is someone who's organizing on the front lines of one of the most recent fossil fuel projects that's been proposed in New Jersey. I've had the pleasure of being in movement with Renee Alessio of Franciscan Response to Fossil Fuels, as well as Sustainable West Milford for many years, going all the way back to the first time we fought this same pipeline company together back in 2010 through 2012, when they first proposed to expand their pipeline through Pennsylvania and into northern New Jersey. Renee has sprung back into action and is doing incredible work organizing her community to stop this project. So we're really grateful to have Renee Alessio here to educate us and bring us into action to stop this disastrous project. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Matt. Greetings from West Milford, heart of New Jersey's Highlands and steward of the drinking water for millions of New Jerseyans. In 2011 and through 2013, we in West Milford experienced the damage firsthand that was caused by the 300 line expansion of the Tennessee Gas Pipeline. TGP clear-cut miles of mature forest in West Milford, Ringwood, and Vernon, including on steep slopes, leaving a permanent scar. With no trees to contain soil erosion, major rainfall, and flooding during the month of August of 2011. That was during Hurricane Irene, if you recall. It created mudslides, and we had problems with TGP mitigating any damage they caused. West Milford had to pay for a $620,000 no net reforestation grant in order to replace the thousands of trees destroyed by TGP. So TGP is really no friend of West Milford. They can't be trusted. As a matter of fact, FERC allowed and was found guilty in 2014 in allowing TGP to avoid scrutiny in the permitting processes in environmental assessments on the pipeline. Now TGP is back trying to build a compressor station in West Milford next to a Category 1 stream, which flows right into the Monksville Reservoir. Air pollution from toxic fracked gas and other chemicals stored and used at the facility would threaten our water. This compressor station would also dangerously force fracked gas into pipelines, some of which are over 60 years old. The pipelines don't benefit West Milford, and neither will a compressor station. New Jersey has never been able to use the gas that these pipelines transport. It goes to New York, but we must endure, New Jerseyans must endure the danger to health and safety, damage to our environment, and the lack of mitigation on their part. They make the profit, but when something goes wrong, we, the taxpayer, pay the cost. More people are aware today than 10 years ago about how fossil fuel infrastructure is dangerous to our communities and are taking a stand against a dying industry. We've already have some resolutions that we are putting out to towns that the pipeline goes through. West Milford has a resolution which we're hoping they'll sign on to. Ringwood, Somerset County actually signed one just recently, and so did Wantage, which is also the other site of a compressor station. So we're hoping that that some things will, happen in the positive. So we please ask you to join us, ask Governor Murphy and President Biden to declare emergency moratoriums on all new fossil fuel infrastructure and support all national efforts to transition directly, not to fossil fuel, to gas, and then to clean energy. We want to go directly to clean, renewable energy now. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. And that is incredible organizing work in just really what's been a couple of months. And we're already building political power, holding town halls with, 150 plus people, and getting towns and counties to start passing resolutions opposing the project. So,
and it's not so easy during COVID.
It's not easy during COVID, but we are doing it. And speaking of good news on pipeline fights, our next speaker is Ryan Gretsch from the Pinelands Preservation Alliance, who's also a member of Empower New Jersey and is one of the organizations that's been leading the fight against New Jersey Natural Gas's proposed pipeline through the Pinelands Preserve, which is a UN recognized biosphere. We're super excited to have Ryan share a exciting update from this fight. And thank you so much for joining us today, Ryan.
Thanks, Matt. And thank you to everybody, all the speakers today. Wow, you are doing such incredible, inspiring work. So my name is Ryan Gretsch. I'm with the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. The Pinelands National Reserve, as many of you know, is 1.1 million acres of protected area, federally designated National Reserve in New Jersey, and is overseen by a state agency called the Pinelands Commission. This commission was established in 1980, and there's a whole set of laws specific to what you can and can't do in the Pinelands National Reserve. And my organization is a watchdog organization that kind of keeps an eye on the Pinelands Commission. So the Southern Reliability Link pipeline is the pipeline that we've been working on, along with a number of you have joined us in that fight for the last 6 years. So this is, if completed, will be a 30-mile, 30-inch high-pressure transmission natural gas pipeline that will cut through the Pinelands National Reserve from Chesterfield in Burlington County down to Manchester in Ocean County. This pipeline, was justified by New Jersey Natural Gas as a redundancy line. So basically, this is not providing new gas to anybody. The company claims that this pipeline is needed to provide reliable service should there be some sort of catastrophic event to the existing pipeline. In our fight over these past 6 years with a number of partners and a number of residents along the pipeline route, we have demonstrated from expert reports that this pipeline is not in fact needed. There's plenty of redundancy in the current system. It is simply an unnecessary infrastructure project that will put money into the pockets of New Jersey Natural Gas shareholders. And in fact, we just found out from the most recent earnings call that New Jersey Natural Gas is expected to spend about $270 million on this pipeline, which is about 90 million more than the original price tag. And they will be going to the BPU to be reimbursed on the backs of the ratepayers, their customers, for this pipeline construction. So where we're at, this pipeline is about 75% built. Over the course of construction, there have been at least 10 and possibly 19, if you count suspected incidents, construction incidents, just before the gas is even flowing. They use a technology called horizontal directional drilling, which some of you may be familiar with. And there have been a number of spills, including 6 within the Pinelands National Reserve itself, spilling drilling sludge into wetlands and forested areas. The shocking news of 2020 for us was that we found out kind of in the middle of the year that in early 2019, there had been these 6 illegal, unpermitted spills of drilling sludge in the Pinelands, and the staff didn't report it to the public or even the commissioners, the 15-member board that oversees the entire agency, for 17 months. And so when this information finally came out, obviously there was an uproar. Unfortunately, there was only an uproar among a couple of the commissioners. The members of this agency board have been highly politicized in recent years. And so there hasn't been a whole lot of momentum to move on investigating, first of all, what happened with the construction spills, why they happened in the first place and why there were 6 of them. And secondly, why the staff kept it hidden for 17 months. So there are a couple of things I would like to ask today, a couple of opportunities to take action if you feel so moved. We had a meeting earlier today with the Pinelands Commission. They've been having their meetings virtually. And we had folks call in to demand accountability of the Pinelands Commission. Why was New Jersey Natural Gas allowed to make 6 of these construction spills in the Pinelands and then just proceed without any sort of repercussions? And by the way, later on, several months later, after those spills in the Pinelands, there were additional spills, one of which damaged a house so badly in Upper Freehold Township that the house was condemned. A woman actually lost her home. It is uninhabitable. So, and then secondly, accountability as to why the staff kept this information from the commissioners and kept the commissioners from being able to respond in a timely manner that could have potentially prevented future destruction. So those Pinelands Commission meetings, if you Google Pinelands Commission YouTube, the next meeting is on March 12th. You can tune in via their YouTube channel, and then there'll be a call-in number and meeting ID number there on the screen. You can call in and demand accountability and demand an investigation by the Pinelands Commission into these incidents. And secondly, the Pinelands Commission, the makeup of the commission themselves, they have 3 vacant seats currently on the board. Governor Murphy has nominated excellent candidates to serve as Pinelands commissioners. However, their confirmations are stalled and have been for 2 years. So we have an action set up. I'll put the link in the chat to contact Governor Murphy and ask him to use the power of his office now to get these nominations moving. These are excellent, highly qualified folks that if they were to be confirmed and serve on the commission, we could get a lot done and we could get some answers for this. So thank you again for the opportunity. Thanks to you guys for all the work you're doing and for organizing this rally. Really appreciate being here.
Thank you, Ryan. And our final speaker today is someone that I've also been in movement, had the pleasure of being in movement with for a while, is one of the leaders at 350 New Jersey. 350 New Jersey is spearheading the Divest New Jersey Coalition, is making, as of late, some incredible headway in the goal of divesting our state public pension fund from all investments in fossil fuels, doing it amidst and despite personal adversity and without really any source of funding or institutional backing. Doing this on a shoestring is truly incredible, but also not surprising for Tina Weishaus. So let's welcome Tina, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. I want to say that I thought the PowerPoint was excellent. I really learned, and very, very powerful to watch. And I'm so impressed by everybody's local struggles. That makes the case more strongly even for a statewide moratorium. So my name is Tina Weishaus, and I am here speaking on behalf of two organizations, 350NJ-Rockland and Divest New Jersey Coalition. We are proud to be with you today as part of this powerful movement to demand a moratorium on all new fossil fuel infrastructure and a ban on transport and export of LNG now planned in Gibbstown. Just looking at that route is so powerful, right next to Philadelphia, unbelievable, in Camden. We are proud to be part of a movement that puts people before profits and lives. Divest New Jersey Coalition works to eliminate fossil fuel investment from the New Jersey State Pension Fund. For the last decade, fossil fuels have been the worst performing and least profitable sector of the stock market, and they are never going to bounce back, thankfully. The state is making a terrible decision to continue to pour taxpayer dollars into these failing companies that are destroying not only our state retirement pension, but our health, our safety, our environment, and our economy. And there's a great DEP report that came out in June of 2020 that catalogs all the damage to all those sectors and what we're facing in New Jersey, the most vulnerable state in the country. So please go to our website at divestnewjersey.org and help send the message to our state legislators and the governor to support the fossil fuel divestment bill now. It's A2196 and S330. We're working both on a bill, passing a bill in the legislature, and trying to convince the Division of Investment and the State Investment Council what a horrible idea investing and how necessary it is to divest from fossil fuels. In addition, 350NJ.Rockland continues to work with Roseland against the compressor station. It is not something I've been directly involved in, but I do know that there's a project, one of many in our state, to double the size of that compressor there. There had been regular demonstrations and rallies at the compressor site, which was shut down by the pandemic, but we are restarting to have in-person rallies against the compressor site. So please go to our website at 350nj.org to find out when the next rally is and how you can join us in the fight. Building our power through our grassroots movement is obviously essential, even through the pandemic, we can see how much stronger we have grown in the last year. We must act now with the urgency that is demanded. Our leaders are not doing enough, and they are not doing it fast enough. President Biden, Governor Murphy, take bolder action. stop pouring money into fossil fuel companies. Fossil fuels are killing us. We demand that you stop building new fossil fuel infrastructure and you ban LNG transport and export. Nobody wants the methane. And we demand that you divest all of our public pensions, federal, state, county, and municipalities from fossil fuels. Time is running out. Invest in our future now and stop digging this hole any deeper. And I thank you. I thank everybody for all the work that is being done in this state. It's really inspiring.
Thank you, Tina. And we are just about ready to wrap up. Before I pass it off to Sam for a few final calls to action, I would just wanted to echo the sentiments that it is such an honor to be in such a leaderful movement. The truth is that while we had to pick a specific, 9 or 10 of us to speak, I have no doubt that every single person on this call could have presented a compelling presentation of the work that they're doing in their communities and in the issues that are impacting their daily lives. And that is what movements need to do to succeed, is building in solidarity with each other, and really embodying the leadership at all levels of movement. So thank you all for being a part of that. It is because of that leadership and initiative that all of you bring to your work that is the main reason why we've stopped 3 of the largest fossil fuel projects in the state in just the last 18 months. And really it's 4 if you count the Nessie pipeline, because Nessie would have built not just a pipeline through central New Jersey and the Raritan Bay, but also a massive polluting compressor station in Franklin Township. That was a 4.5-year campaign that finally pressured both governors, Murphy and Cuomo, to use their authority under the Clean Water Act to block that massive destructive frack gas pipeline project. We together stopped the Meadowlands power plant, which would have been the single largest climate polluter in the state of New Jersey, after a similar 18-month historic effort that saw 52 towns pass resolutions opposing the project. So many of you were responsible for so much of that work. And most recently with New Jersey Transit, where in October of 2020, we made a historic turnaround in getting transit to completely change tracks and set a new goal of building their microgrid project with 100% clean energy, as opposed to a frack gas power plant in an environmental justice community. And we followed it up this January, just last month, by finally getting transit to withdraw their permit application for that original frack gas power plant in the Kearney Meadowlands. That fight still has a little bit of proverbial meat on the bone or fruit on the tree. And we are going to stay vigilant and make sure that we stop the power plant for good and win the 100% clean energy solution that we need and deserve in this state, and that protects the health and safety of our most vulnerable residents. And together, I have no doubt that 2021 will be the year that, with Tracy and so many of your leadership, we're going to stop the LNG export terminal in Gibbstown and stop the transportation of LNG through our communities, which is really the single biggest fossil fuel project threatening our state. That we're going to stop the pipeline expansion and compressor stations proposed in northern New Jersey with Renee and Greg and so many others who are leading that fight. And we're going to continue to push Governor Murphy to make the sweeping policy changes we need, and also work now with real momentum and opportunity at the federal level to win the kind of transformative policies we need to keep fossil fuels in the ground and transform our society to a renewable, restorative, and regenerative future for all generations. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Sam for a few calls to action.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, thanks everyone who spoke today and everyone that joined this call to listen. Like Matt said, it's because all of us are here and continue to fight that we're able to win. And we have some actions that you can take today. If you click this link, it'll take you to a page where they're all linked. So the first thing that would be really great if you could do is the first link, send a message to Governor Murphy urging him to declare a moratorium on all new fossil fuel projects, ban liquefied natural gas, LNG, transport and export, like we heard about from Kate and Tracy. It's such a danger to our state. And finally, protect and invest in Black, Indigenous, Brown, and working class communities that have historically borne the brunt of fossil fuel pollution in our country and in New Jersey. The second thing that we'd like you to do today is sign the Build Back Fossil Free petition, which calls on Biden to protect and invest in those same communities that I mentioned before, and the era of fossil fuel production, reject fossil fuel projects, and eliminate giveaways to oil, gas, and coal corporations, and launch a national climate mobilization to build back fossil free, including delivering jobs, justice, and opportunity for all. There's a number of other things on that petition. You can check it out on that link. And then if you're a young person or you have young people in your life, please sign and share the petition specifically for young people and students that Ashley mentioned, and the petition in support of the Green Amendment. Those are linked there as well. And yeah, please share with youth networks that you're involved with. And yeah, there's definitely also an opportunity, especially in this time when we are all social distancing and staying home, that we can use social media to amplify our calls. So please, if you use Twitter or Facebook or other social media platforms, please tweet or post calling on the governor and President Biden, to take strong actions to fight climate change and fight for environmental justice. And then I added the link here to the Pinelands Preservation Alliance action, and I'll add the Divest New Jersey one. Also, and I'll also email this out to everyone that attended today, so you can share this link and sign it from your computer if the chat is hard for you to use. But yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna pass it off back to Paula now to close.
Hi, since I was on last, the trains are finally moving again, but in the interim, they were spewing diesel exhaust into our community, and that's another fight that we have to wage. We want to thank the more than 30 organizers of this who sponsored this rally. We want to thank the organizers of the National Build Back Fossil Free Coalition, which has been holding their demonstrations this entire week around the country. We hope that you will continue to stay involved, or if you haven't been involved, please join us. We're at a turning point in history, and this is a very exciting time because we have a federal government now that has said that it is moving us. We are moving toward renewable energy future and green job future. It's really up to us, though, to make that a reality. So I want to, I'm going to call out what do we want, and if you would shout, Build Back Fossil Free, when do we want it? And you'll shout now. I don't know, Sam, if you can unmute everybody. Is that possible? Yeah. Or you can do it at home. What do we want? Build back fossil free.
Fossil free.
When do you want it? Now. What do you want? Build back fossil free. When do we want it? Now. And I'm going to show you our signs here on the bridge, and a beautiful banner made by Norm Fisher.
I'm going to cook food. I'm going to eat.
The sunflower designs were inspired by Liz Andoya, who led an art build, a central train here. And here is the beautiful banner.
Yeah, I'm going.
Made by Norm Fisher. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for participating today. And let's continue to work together. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.
Tim, do you still want to do a picture?
I got one. Well,
Oh, great.
thanks,
All right,
everyone.
everyone.